Time for us to get into another quick conversation now. This one is a very important one. You know, today on the front page of the Daily Graphic, this story came out. Free SHS bill goes to Parliament, seeks cancellation of BECE for SHS admissions, and also for SHS to be 6 years. This is interesting. I don't know what you think. You know, my challenge with the whole conversation is simple. There's a system that works globally. Why are we not using
the
simple systems that work globally so that it makes sense everywhere and anywhere you go?
Yeah.
Right? So we have the O-level, A-level system.
True.
We also have the ICGCSE system,
Yeah.
right? Oh, I mean, I wrote the GCSE, you know, prior to the IGCSE. You get it? So all these systems are there. But we're doing this thing that is literally relegated only to West Africa. It's not, BECE, by the way, it's not even in East Africa.
Yes.
It's not in Southern Africa. It's nowhere else. It's only West Africa.
No, well, even the BECE, I think it's just Ghana.
Oh, really?
Yeah, BECE
Okay.
is just Ghana, but in Nigeria, I think they have something called Junior WAEC. I
Okay.
think that could be the same kind of like,
WAEC,
yeah,
okay.
it's called Junior WAEC.
Okay.
Yeah, that could be the same
So
kind of thing.
BECE is strictly just Ghana.
I think it's a
Okay.
Ghana thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I find it problematic that at the age of what, 14, we're ending
Your schooling.
children's schooling, and telling them at the age of 14 they should choose which, you know, school they're going to go to. Now, there was an old system prior to this. It predates the BECE. It was called the common entrance.
I think they did common entrance in Nigeria too.
Yes.
Yeah.
Common entrance was actually
West
all across
Africa,
West
yeah.
Africa, yeah. But that was the point where primary has ended. You're choosing secondary,
Yes.
right? And the secondary would go for then 7 years. Do you get it? At this point, we're saying that BECE is what, 3 years more than primary, okay? And then they're proposing to add SHS after that for another 6 years. Okay, I don't get all of it, but let me get into the story here, okay? We'll try and call up some people in the education space to try and throw some more light on the bill that is being presented to Parliament, okay? Well, it's actually going to Cabinet first. Well, so here, Free SHS, Free Senior High School Bill 2024 will be presented to Cabinet for a debate this week. The proposed bill being drafted by the Ministry of Education is to give legal backing to the provision of free and compulsory education at the senior high school level. Now, the Minister of Education, Dr. Yao Osei Educhum, said last Friday that the bill would also propose the decoupling of junior high school from basic school and make it part of secondary school, thereby creating 6 years of secondary education. So you get what they're saying now. So it's not that BECE will exist, but rather remove BECE entirely, and you go from primary to SHS
But like
straight away.
Yeah.
Do you understand?
So no more. Wait.
You go to
JHS,
secondary
yeah.
school,
Yeah.
and the junior and the senior will
It's
be
all-
part
it's all
of.
together.
It's a 3 years, 3 years, but it's one block.
You know, that's what I grew up knowing.
That's what most people do. The Americans practice the same system.
Exactly. So that's
and
what
all
I
of that.
know. Like,
Yeah.
so it was when I moved here. I actually saw how it was, and I was like, okay, this is difficult. A lot
Yeah.
of people. So that means if you fail, you're gonna stay home.
Yeah.
If you fail,
Yeah.
if you know.
Yeah.
So I feel like even with that, it also discourages the person even not to even want to even write next time.
Yeah, well, so it goes on. It says here, the minister said another proposal of the bill was the cancellation of the basic education certificate examination as a precondition for gaining admission to the secondary level. I agree 100% on this one. I mean, honestly, it's way overdue. Rather, it will be used for school selection purposes, okay, which is actually what the common entrance did, you know, for helping you to select schools. Yeah. when passed, the certification for completing SHS would then become the first level of formal certificate any student would or could obtain in their secondary in the country, okay, rather than the BECE certification the Education Minister further stated. So your first certificate of education will be the SHS, you know, as opposed to the BECE, which is actually quite useless. If you have a BECE certificate, what are you using it for?
Nothing.
No, let's be real.
Nothing.
No, let's be real. If you have a BECE certificate, what can it do in terms of the world? What can
Nothing.
it do? Practically nothing.
Nothing.
You know, and so I think it's a good direction in which it's going, that the BECE certificate will be scrapped entirely, and the SHS certificate now becomes the first of your certificates in secondary school. I think that age is also ripe. You're looking at people who are 17, 18.
That's what
it's
I
a
have.
correct age.
And you know, I said
So
it
that
was,
if you end
yeah,
it there,
exactly.
you can end
That's
it
what
there.
I have. Like it was so new to me and so shocking when I heard
Yeah.
about BEC. I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, so what happens if the person does not pass? Oh, you have to rewrite again the next. I'm like,
Yeah,
you start again,
yeah,
or you sit at home.
yeah.
You won't go to school.
And people have been writing BEC for 3 years, 4 years. Anyway, the senior programs manager,
But,
senior programs
but
yes.
yeah, I think this is progress. This is progress, and I hope it goes through successfully. And I pray nobody opposes it,
Yeah.
because honestly, the future of the of the kids really matter.
Yeah.
It really does matter.
Yeah,
And I mean, I don't know why anybody would even want to oppose this.
Well, the senior programs officer at Africa Education Watch, Divine Pay, has joined us on the line. Divine, good morning. Hello, Divine.
Yeah, hello. Yeah, I can hear you.
Hello.
Hello, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
If you can kindly speak up, I can hardly hear you.
Can you hear me?
All right. So, Divine, yes, the situation as it is, the proposal of the bill, you know, as the bill as the minister is proposing and the ministry is proposing, what does EduWatch make of it? What does Africa Education Watch make of it? All
right, thank you, David. We have not seen the content of the bill yet. Our understanding was that last Friday it should be laid in Parliament, and there was anticipation to have seen it for the first time. But since it wasn't laid, we still don't have the opportunity to have a look at the content. So what we are picking is what the minister and other government officials are talking about. For instance, they want to merge junior high school and senior high school so that it will be 6 years of secondary school education.
Yeah.
And then also BECE will be taken away, such that there will be this seamless transition from junior high school to senior high school.
Yeah.
So these are the two major things we are picking that the bill may be including as part of the effort to have a legislation for the pre-senior high school.
Yeah.
And when it comes to 6 years of secondary school education, the fact is that if you look at the history of education in Ghana, since independence, every successive government that ever came to power has had some form of reforms at the pre-tertiary education level. When Nkrumah came, he introduced the first Education Act, 1961 Education Act. When he was overthrown, the National Liberation Council also took another major reform in 1967.
Okay.
And then the National Liberation Council was also overthrown, and then the National Redemption Council also came in and also undertook some reform in 1974. And that was the major reform that we have in the education space. And then J.J. Rawlings also came in, and in 1987, he also undertook a major reform. Now, until J.J. came in and took a reform in 1987, education was such that we had 6 years of primary education.
Yeah.
And then senior high school, as we call it now, and senior high school, they were all together. they weren't decoupled.
Yeah.
So you would have recalled that prior to that, persons who would have attended primary 6 years of primary education, after the end of the 6 years of primary education, they will write a common entrance examination.
Yeah.
And then after that, they either have the opportunity to go to middle school 4 years or secondary school for 5 years. Those who go to middle school for 4 years, at the end, they write a middle school leaving certificate examination. And then those who go to the 5 years of secondary school, they write a general certificate exam. So prior to 1987, secondary school had been 3 years of lower secondary school and then 2 years of senior secondary school.
Yeah.
They have been together. But when the 1987 reform came in, that's when the BECE was introduced, and then the junior high school was decoupled from the senior high school, such that, and then also the common entrance was removed. The person that have completed 6 years of primary school will not write a common entrance exam. From primary 6, they go straight to junior high school. At the end of the junior high school, they write a BECE. And then they go to senior high school. Senior high school became 3 years. After senior, they write what we now call the WASE. So it was in 1987 that the secondary school concept, which was the lower secondary school and upper secondary school concept, was taken away. Yeah. But strongly, if you ask any experts in the education space to tell you that has been the ideal thing, that was actually a good thing that we were doing until 1987, where we took away the junior high school and then attempt to add it to primary school to become basic education. And so that has been a challenge over the year because we've taken it away from the secondary school. Whenever there are intervention at the upper secondary school level, hardly will you see such intervention trickling down to the junior high school. And then also when there's a reform at the basic education level, the concentration is not much on the primary school, and then we see the junior high school receiving less attention. So you always hear the current education minister, Honorable Oseodichu, mentioning that junior high school remains the weakest link in our education system. And I agree with him. Because of that decoupling we have done, junior high school, an attempt to add it to primary school, seems to be standing on its own. And then reforms are coming, interventions are coming, and they are going to the upper secondary school, and they are going to the primary school and junior high school. How do we see interventions targeting them? So if there's any new attempt now to realign junior high school to secondary school, for us to have the pre-1987 concept of secondary education, lower secondary education and junior secondary education, I strongly believe it is a good concept that we need to revisit, and I strongly support any attempt to realign the junior high school to senior high school.
Divine.
Yeah.
So just to sort of give us a picture, I'm trying to understand. So the old, the system, the BECE system, if there was nothing wrong with the old system, why did we change it? Were there any positives that came out of the BECE system, considering now that it may be likely that, sooner or later we'll be reverting back to that old system we walked away from?
All right. The positive side of the pre-1987 structure that we had, that actually met the junior high school and then the senior high school, the positive side that by then it was 5 years. Now we had it to attempt to make it 6 years. Now it was 5 years. So the curriculum at the lower secondary school and then the upper secondary school were aligned. So students would have had sufficient opportunity to learn the course curriculum or subject they were learning into or in-depthly. They were learning in-depthly, and that was actually preparing students for some level of employment even after their secondary school education, because it looks like it's going to be 5 years and they are going to be given enough training, enough attention on the various curriculum that they were given to or taken through in that particular system or region. So the positive side is that it was equipping them. They were having ample time to have learned whatever they were learning. And now that we have decoupled that and added the junior high school to the basic or primary education becoming basic, as I mentioned, it makes it difficult now to tailor specific interventions to the middle one, which is the junior high school at this point in time. So it remains that the junior high school seems to be an orphan now. You see intervention, they say basic education. When they say basic education intervention, mostly the intervention are going to the primary school
level,
You're going to your primary, and then senior high school continue to have the interventions like we are having iBox. If indeed we're having 6 years of secondary education, if we're having this intervention like digital interventions at the secondary school, which would have trickled down to the lower secondary school, which is the junior high school now, it would have been the case that it would have also benefited from such interventions. So again, if we're able to align or realign for them to become one, what it means is that students would have had ample time to learn the curriculum. Now, the curriculum will also be aligned. There wouldn't be any curriculum like a junior high school curriculum, which actually, if you look at it right now, the curriculum at primary school is different from what is happening at the junior high school. And what is happening at the junior high school is also different from what is happening at the senior high school. So, if we are able to realign, it means that the curriculum at the junior high school will be aligning with the senior high school curriculum, and therefore, and previously there had been an attempt to do that, which would the Common Core program. What it means that the student at the lower primary or at the lower secondary school would have taken core subjects, and then when they transit to the upper secondary school, then they'll focus on the elective subjects, which means that they would have had enough time to focus on their elective, and to some extent they would have gotten some level of mastery by the time they are leaving secondary school in 6 years. Now that would be an added advantage. So yes, as I mentioned, we haven't seen the full content, but these two, the attempt to realign the junior secondary school with the upper secondary school, we call it a senior high school now. It is good, and if we are going to do away with the BECE, it means that there wouldn't be any middle point that a student will have to write an examination before transition to the upper secondary school. The curriculum would have been aligned. The student would have had ample time to learn the core subjects at the lower secondary school level, which is now called the junior high school. And when they transit to the upper secondary school, they focus on their electives. And I'm sure it will really help teachers to be able to complete the curriculum. And by the time students are doing 6 years of secondary education, their skills would have been enhanced to some significant extent. For me, I think some of them would have been ready for the job market, especially those that would be in the technical space. Some of them would have been ready for the job market.
Okay, so Divine, looking at the way things have been going from the past till now, with how the educational system keeps changing every time, and if this goes through again, and maybe in the future someday, and someone says, oh, we need to change it again, and it happens again, what effects do you think, this actually has on students? I mean, from the trends of things, we see if someone comes in, they say they want to change it.
Yeah, that is the fear. That is why we need to build consensus on this particular bill. It's very important. Like I took you through, every successive government has had some level of reform in educational space. After J.J. Rawlings' reform in 1987, President Kufuor came in. He also had some reforms, and that's where we had the Anamoah Mensah reform, and we had 4 years of secondary school education. President Tamus came in. There was some sort of reform. We had to reverse the 4 years to 3 years, and then we had President Mahama come in and introduce the progressively free senior high school, and then President Kufuor come in, and then we have free secondary school. So every government, and I know if we have a change of administration now, the future, a new government also want to do some reform again. And that's why there's a need for us to build a consensus on this particular bill. It should be a bipartisan consensus that has to be built, and then also consultation will have to be brought. This bill should not be made a political bill, and that this is what we think it should be done, because the Free Senior High School is our flagship program, or we are the originator of Free Senior High School. Whatever we want to do, or put it into law, that's what we want to do. No, there are different views on this Free Senior High School, especially when it comes to the financing. We have still not built a consensus on how it should be financed, and that's why government will have to be very much consultative and now seek ideas from civil society organizations, those in the academia, traditional authorities, to be able to have a pill that once it is presented to Parliament and becomes an act, then we know that this has actually be something that we are all bought into, and future government knowing very well that yes, this is built on consensus. I'm sure they will not come in and say, okay, we are trying to relook at it.
All right. Thank you so much. We really appreciate your thoughts on this matter.
Thank you.
Clearly, he has a lot of history up his sleeves, giving us context for all of this. We really appreciate it. So that was Divine Pe. Divine Pe is the Senior Programs Officer at Africa Education Watch, giving us some kind of background that will help us understand, to some extent, reasons for the decisions that are being made now. But like he said, the details haven't come out yet, and so we'll definitely get more into that once the full details are out. But I really do hope that we, like he said, by partisan consensus, we all agree together, not one side versus the other.
I don't think education should be politicized.
Yeah.
I don't think so.
We shouldn't.
I don't think it should be changing because the government has changed. I just think it should just be one way. Let us know. Let's do what everybody's doing.
This is what we're doing.
You understand?
Then, what works.
There should be a standard.
Yes.
Yeah,
exactly.
and let's just follow the standard.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.